morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scouser's Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Wednesday morning where I am the number one greatest dad as always. And number two is here. What's happening, Gordo?
What's going on? I didn't have it as an eventful a week as I did last week, and I was kind of yelled at for leaving this morning for my son, so I don't feel like the number two dad today. He was like, because my wife was like, "Oh, it's a rainy day. We'll have we'll get all cuddly in the living room, watch a movie." And I was like, "All right, I'll see you guys." And he's like, "Wait, what? Well, you're not staying for this?"
And we are missing John, who had like a work commitments that he got called into. I mean, I don't know if it's just me. I'm getting the feeling like three of us were like these like college buddies. And then John is the one who got married and got a job, and we're like, man, you were so cool. What happened to you?
Yeah. It's the same guy that did the beer bongs.
But a lot to talk about. I guess we'll start with this because I do wanted to get your take on this one because it came out this morning and a lot of chats over it in the Discord channel as well. Let me throw it on the screen over here. The one about Gomez. The rumor is, the news is, or the saying is, that we offered, like Joe Gomez, I'm assuming basically we were going to give Joe Gomez and some cash to get Gordon, is the way I'm reading this. If he's going for 45, the other one is coming for 70. It was like, how about Gomez plus 30 for Gordon kind of a deal? What do you make of that? And more importantly, what should Gomez make of that?
That one, it's so weird because I know we talk about this all the time, but like for the last 5 years, I've been like, this is the season Gomez goes because he doesn't fit. And then this summer, I'm like, we cannot sell Gomez. It's unacceptable. Like just with the role that he played last year, I think it'd be pretty unfair to him to like not give him a shot under slot. Also, to move somebody like Gomez for Gordon, yes, Gordon would be a great addition to the team, but like when he plays on that left side, I feel like we've already got a problem there where we don't like, do we play Gakpo? Do we play Diaz? Yep. Like what's going on there? Now we're going to add a third player to the mix while he is good. I don't think you should fill a position that you kind of already have cover for while also losing somebody like Gomez. I don't think that's a smart move. I hope it's not true.
Do you think this was more of hey, you guys need money. How about that Gordon kids? We've always liked them. Kind of an offer to Newcastle and an approach more than like now that they kind of got past the first phase instead of the FFB. Do you think then now it's more of a, well, we don't need it, so we're not going to go after it unless there's a move that happens, Diaz goes or somebody goes or something like that. I almost feel like it was more of like a opportunity thing because maybe Gordon's price is a lot higher now as well.
Yeah, and sometimes, you do that. You do like a little fishing move, right? You drop the bobber in the water and just like, all right, what are you interested in, right? Like, is this going to be enough for you to like open the door to discussion? Or like how far off are we basically? And I think that's probably what this is. I wish they wouldn't have done it with Gomez, maybe somebody that we were like expecting to be on the move this summer. But they may have had a conversation with Gomez and been like, you played really well last year. I think you're kind of a high-profile target. I think you'd slot into a lot of teams. We're going to try
except slots team.
yeah, except for ours. Goodbye. Yeah.
You will slot in anywhere except with slots. I mean, what do you think it means in terms of how Slot views him as well? Or was he deemed a luxury at that point? Because let's face it, we keep saying that we need him, like we want to keep him, and most people say that not necessarily maybe as a center back, but more of the Milner role where he plays right back, he plays left back and stuff like that. And maybe if Trent is staying as right back, you already have Bradley there as cover. Is he deemed excess and not needed?
Possibly, and some managers don't like those kind of versatile players like that where they can slot people in. They like to have, 2 or 3 people in the background that actually play that position instead of like Klopp really loved those players that could do multiple jobs. I mean, how many players do we have through the years that could jump into a 9 role or then play on the wing and like be just as effective? So it could just be a style change and there's like nowhere for him to fit. But I know Gally in the comments is saying he'd like to see Gomez get a legitimate shot as a center back, and I would too. I think he's earned it, and I think he hasn't gotten a whole lot of time with Gomez because he was with England as well. So I don't think he's given him a shot yet.
So what do you think of the 45? I guess because I almost take it as a like Newcastle says, well, you guys got to throw Gomez in the deal, and we're like, well, he will count as 45 then, maybe thinking they would not go for that. I mean, if you wanted to flat out, obviously he has like the English additional tax on it in the Premier League that he would fetch in terms of a fee, but ultimately this is a player who has not been a regular starter in 3 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, like this season he was used more than he's been in quite some time.
Yeah, and in different roles, not as a center back. I mean,
it was just
whoever is getting him as. Oh, I guess that's the question. Like, if Newcastle is getting him, you think Newcastle is getting him because he can play a bunch of positions, or
for 45
center back?
Yeah, for 45, he's a utility player there as well. You're not. I don't think you're buying someone for that price where you want him to play the entire season. Now he could play the entire season. We've seen it in multiple different roles, but I don't think you'd buy somebody like Gomez now in this stage of his career with what he's done in the past to, make a move at a club like Newcastle who definitely want to get back into Champions League places this year. You're probably not buying Gomez for 45 to play him all 60 games.
Yeah, because 45 is, I mean, Gally says that sounds like an Edwards valuation, and that could be, like I say, like as part of the negotiation, it could be like, well, it's going to take a lot. If if you're going to do something with Gomez, that'll kind of 45, maybe just to have him like, oh, wait, well, not 45. We didn't think he was going to be 30 or something like that. So that is a possibility as well. I just don't know where to place him. Matush says he still owes us a goal. That's another thing, man. I was really looking forward to seeing this very first Gomez goal for Liverpool kind of thing. Guten Morgen. Man, German. Okay, so how you forget a language is amazing, by the way, because I used to at one point, because that was my second foreign language, if you will, after English when I was in high school back in Turkey. And I used to be able to get around. If you drop me in the middle of, Germany, I could probably make my way out of it without being killed. Now I feel like, I'm just going to be going around just saying Guten Morgen and like.
What is it? Mein Muttersprachen ist English. Or for you, it'd be Turkish.
I have a better shot of like finding a bunch of Turkish people in Germany and making my way out that way, as opposed to trying to remember my German. And I have a much better shot of making it alive out of that way. I don't know what to think about this Gomez thing, though, man. I do personally, maybe because I want him to stay. I really like him as a player. I really like as a player in terms of like skill set and stuff like that, but also more like how he carries himself as like a player that you want to have on your squad kind of thing. And I do hope he gets a shot. I mean, what will someone like Sepp or whoever we're keeping would have that Gomez does not? Like, what quality would there be that Slot is like, this is what I want in my center backs? Or you're keeping Kwanzaa, Konate, like, what is that? Because I can't think of anything that, I mean, he has speed. He's good on the ball. He does get caught on the ball probably more than any of our other center backs. Mm-hmm. But they've always, we've all seen Kwanzaa make a mistake. Obviously, that's the United game. I mean, we've all seen center backs make mistakes with the ball. So that can't be, he gets caught on the ball or something like that. What do you think it is that makes it look like, at least?
Yeah. I think Matush just hit on the head. He said he typed it before I could say it, but yeah, I think it's long-term project with Sepp. You know, he can mold him into a player. He's got a lot longer to develop him. It's easier to put somebody in that position at that age or with that inexperience, that you could kind of like, this is a work in progress. It's easier to say that about somebody like Sepp than it is about Gomez, right? And I think that's probably what it is. It's a new manager coming in, seeing as someone that they could take to the next level, whereas Gomez is probably who Gomez is. I don't think you're gonna step him into another level.
That's a good point. I mean, I guess the only thing I could think of, because 27 is not old, like Mature says, especially for a center back. Because you can, we talked about this in the past where you can kind of adjust your style and get more years out, play until almost close to mid-30s and stuff, and still be playing at a high level. The other thing that worries me, and I don't know this is what worries them, is, Gomez's biggest strength is his speed. So a lot of times where his positioning is wrong, perhaps, he can make up for it with the speed. So because he can recover. Similar to, Walker at City. If Walker's speed diminishes, he's a really crappy right back.
Yeah.
But so unless that's what they're looking at and they're like, hey, as he ages and that speed goes down, he's just going to be like exponentially getting worse in our eyes in terms of performance because his biggest strength is going to be diminishing perhaps. Yeah, 27 doesn't seem that old. But and at the same time, we always bitch and moan about not capitalizing on your assets. And like you said, after last year, this is probably as high as the price is going to get since when he was with Van Dijk in that year.
Definitely. And if Slot thinks he has enough options at defense, which I don't know if I agree with that. He has options, but I don't think he has like seasoned options like Gomez. Then he might be okay with giving somebody up like that for, like you said, it's kind of a bargaining chip because he's probably at his highest value that he's been at.
So, by the way, you keep like freezing. I'm assuming that storm is really heading your way over there as the phone reception gets worse.
It must be. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I do hope he does stay around, but capitalizing when it makes sense, though. We're already asking for a center back while adding another headache to the left wing spot. And I don't know if that moves Diaz to the right. I mean, somebody would have to be going for Gordon to be added. We're not investing that money into an area that is already, at least on paper, an area of strength. So I would assume, Gordon coming in means either Mo is leaving or Diaz is leaving. Somebody's leaving. Somebody's being sold. And maybe that money in return then is converted into your incoming center back and stuff like that. I would think that's part of the math over there. They're not going to Sparky says Diaz is to go for
Gordon. That would be the most likely. Yeah.
Or it could be Mo and Diaz switching to the right hand side.
Which doesn't seem fair, right?
Yeah, I know, exactly. But I mean, like somebody has to go to make room for the winger. I don't think we might be signing a winger for like the right wing or something for like $10-15 million future projects or rolling the dice kind of a young player. But I don't think we're spending that much money for just depth, especially in an area of strength, like I said. So that has to be something that goes with another move of some sort. Speaking of moves, I hate to throw rumor bills, but are you buying this latest rumor? And like not only buying it in terms of you think it's realistic, and are you up for it?
Well, I'll take anything at this point. Right? Right? Like just a little bit of excitement, here and there. Are we even looking? I'm not sure. Like even the Gomez thing was like, well, at least they're in the market, right? It's like for a little bit, it was like maybe they didn't know that the transfer window was open yet. I'm not sure. So I don't know much about him though. So I can't say it'd be like exciting. I think there's a little bit to say for the Dutch connection. So I think that that's always going to be, or that has been a theme so far of like, oh, we might get this guy, we might get that guy. You know, Gakpo might get a shot because of the Dutch connection, but I don't know how much of that is just us like wanting there to be a connection and how much of it is legitimate. I know we've talked about that before as well. So, yeah, I don't think I have to do a little bit more research on the player themselves, but you know, I'm like I said, I'm happy when I'm seeing like, oh, Liverpool are interested in this person because I want there to be something. There's got to be something going on this summer.
Gala says Verman fits that midfield skill sets I described on the Monday Night Pod, and that was my thing. When I heard the name, I was like, "See, like that makes sense," kind of a thing. Because I do hear some names, and I'm like, I don't understand how that fits, or fits any better than Endo, for example. But that's a guy, for example, it does make sense. I think if we sign somebody for midfield, it's more of a McAllister type guy as opposed to, or McAllister guy who has size. Maybe not as good as McAllister with the ball, but definitely better than Endo with the ball and more like physical and stuff like that. But how, speaking of, you said like the activity and stuff like that, what are your like nerve levels like? We were talking about it, like yesterday in Discords. The only club in the Galaxy, I think Gala was saying it was like top 5 leagues on Monday. It could be the only club in the Galaxy who has not signed anybody this summer. I am not. We were talking about terminology. Like, I'm not getting worked up over it, but I'm definitely getting irked that maybe we are just going to sit and wait and see what happens this season, which kind of worries me because I'm not that confident going into the season.
I think there's a lot of media play on it that kind of, and it'll always do that, even when you know it's happening, that, they know the keywords and the hot button topics to start pushing in the media to kind of make you nervous because that's all you're seeing is, oh, they haven't done anything. But I think like when it started, when we got all the guys in the back office, I think everyone thought like, oh, Arnie's going to be given a war chest. He's going to be going ham this summer with everybody that he wants under the sun, and we're going to get great prices for him, and people are going to move at their highest values. And I think that's what's been the most shocking is I didn't, and it's changed from like, oh, he's going to have everything under the sun to this was never going to be a summer that we were going to do a whole lot. And it's just like, there's been such a contrast from end of May to now. I think that's what's been the most frustrating is it doesn't. I think we all kind of thought that there was going to be a clear goal, and maybe there has been, and the media has kind of been lying to us. But I think like we've either bamboozled ourselves or totally misread the signs, and I think that's the biggest thing. Because if they had come in and said, all right, look, it's a new manager. This is a project that Klopp probably shouldn't have left because I think it was a lot closer to the finished product than he thought at the beginning of the year when he made the decision to leave. And we're not really looking at doing a whole lot. And I think everyone would have accepted that and been like, all right, Arnie's going to see what he's got under the cabinet. Liverpool are not, as a club, are not expecting him to do a whole lot this year except for make Champions League. So let's see what he has. Let's give him a real good evaluation. We've also got a summer tournament, which that's the worst for a new manager to come into anyways. And I think we all would have accepted it. But I think at the beginning, and it might have just been us. The club might have no control over that whatsoever. But I think we were all like, oh, this summer with all these pieces moving, and we've got like the best back office that we've had in years, the most aggressive. It should be a fun summer, and we haven't done anything. And I think that contrast is what's really freaking people out. Is like from May to now has been nothing like we have imagined.
That's a good point, actually. That could be on the fans thinking, oh, he came in now, he'll sell this guy for 80, he'll sell this guy for 100, stuff like that, and then we'll have the money. But do you think, take us fans out of the equation, do you think they came in saying, yes, we got to do this, we got to do that, and then realizing like this market's, because Hughes even mentioned it in the press conference, that's long-awaited press conference that they had with Slow at the end, about things being trickier, Olympics, Euro, Copa America, and stuff like that, and maybe they're like, yeah, this summer is not going to be a good summer to move some of these extra guys that were bought while they weren't here, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. Or do you think they came in and they were like, okay, well, we're not going to be able to get out of it. You guys went you guys really went shopping last year, kind of a thing. And all these new guys were like, well, let's see what you guys bought first. But Sparky is saying too that Slot needs to see the squad. I mean, how long does it take to see the squad? I don't want to simplify things, but you would think, we've talked about this 100 times in the past. You would think a lot of these things are coming up in the interview, right? I mean, if you are in the vicinity, it's not like you're coming from a different planet and you don't know anybody. Like, you're not going into a totally different office and you don't know the entire accounting team. You know what I mean? Like, this is like you're in this world in terms of players' skill sets and stuff. You might not know attitudes, how they practice. I get all that. But in an interview, I am probably asking you, hey, what do you think? I mean, we're talking philosophy, but we're also probably applying your philosophy to our current situation. Aren't a lot of those conversations already happening? Or is that the interview? Slot is like, I'll come in, I'll take a look, I'll let you guys know this might be a quiet summer.
Yeah. Well, and now we also, as the fan base, have to get used to, once again, having a manager that probably doesn't have much say in transfers. That like, I remember the Rodgers where he was like, yeah, we really need this, and nothing happens. And it just feels like there's this giant disconnect between the back office and the manager in terms of transfers. And it's kind of like when he gives the press conference and they're expecting this answer like Klopp would give, because he was very much involved in all of it, for him to be like, I don't know. I'd be surprised if we don't sign anybody, and be like, how do you not know? It's so frustrating. Aren't you involved in any way?
You guys got phones over there? Like maybe, I mean, here's another thing. They did mention, I mean, this could be the situation as well, right? And I think this is probably like the most likely, where he has to work in a new system with a bunch of players into a new system. And it would be a lot easier if there was no, the Euros and Copa America and stuff, signing people earlier and bringing them in and teaching everybody at the same time. It's almost like orientation. When you do orientation of new employees, like, you want to do as many as possible at the same time. You don't want to teach these guys 10 things and then 2 other guys start later on. Is it more like, well, you know what? I don't want people coming in afterwards, a bunch of new people coming in afterwards. Let's work with this group, teach our system. Let's see who can't freaking figure it out and plug it in, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, like having the international tournament and having, as Sparky says, like the top players not in the squad, haven't been involved, trying to get that whole system to gel while also still learning the players, as a very difficult for a new manager, especially because it's not just a new manager for this club, but he's a new manager for this league too. So he's probably also studying the competition. But like you had said earlier, it's this, in this day and age, I can look up clips from any game over the last 15 years on YouTube, even further than that. Like I could, but specifically I can pick, like Norwich Liverpool 2010 or something, like I can look at those games. So there's no excuse really to not know how the players play, even if they're not with you, I guess is the point.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, at this day and age, I know I looked into something because my brother, he at one point got like a scouting, went through like a scouting program or something like that in England, and they had like, he was telling me, and I actually looked, like there's like this company where it's really expensive because it is for actual clubs, not for a bozo like me who wants to see, oh, Liverpool are interested in this guy, let me search him in here. I mean, you can search any dude in this network and you can get footage of them, doing this, footage of them doing that and stuff like that. So they have access to all that kind of stuff. Plus, these are our players. It's not like the guy just came in. So we have all our footage of our games and stuff like that as well. I mean, he has practice footage he's watching and stuff like that. I really feel it's a more of like, let's wait and see, which worries me. Or let me ask you, does it worry you, like, as things are, if you go into the season as things are, do you even have any hopes of a title run?
No, and I didn't even if we made good moves, I don't think I would have.
But why not? See, that's the thing. I'm on the same boat, but then the half full, half empty kind of thing. Why not? Because this team was really close last year. Really, I mean, it fell apart towards the end. Why not? If we have, I don't know, less injuries because slot system is better or physio is better or whatever, and maybe a couple of our players actually have better seasons. Because when we look back, I keep going back to this, we can't look back at the season we passed and name a lot of players. You know, you'd name Harvey, you would name Gomez and stuff like that as having their best years, but not key characters like, you know, Diaz or Nunez, Mo, you know, whoever, Soboslai or whatever.
I mean, I think the true answer is that both you and me, we bet against the team for our own.
We are pessimists for life.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, I don't expect it. And then if it happens, you and me are like very much on board. Like, yes, we could do this. But at the beginning of the season, like, no, there's no chance we're doing it. So I think that's the real answer. But yeah, I guess it's a good point. Like, why wouldn't we expect to be there? I guess too, there is something to when everyone around you is getting stronger and you're not, then it doesn't feel good. And then the other side, you know, what was it, 2 years ago when the Premier League decided to end the transfer market like before the start of the season, which I like. The problem is when nobody else does that with you, and then you're kind of like,
that's the problem. Exactly. Yeah.
Everyone's still continuing to buy people, and they know that they can hold out, and so they don't sell the players until the very last minute because they know they can get the highest prices. And so the rest of the leagues are like still wheeling and dealing while you're locked up. Now, if everyone did that, I would agree, because I'm in the same boat with you. I don't like starting a season and then making changes and like bringing somebody in like 3 games later or 2 games later. And I think that's very dangerous in itself. And I think that's kind of where we're heading. You know, I think they're looking at the first couple of games and going, oh, we can make it through those games with these players and then figure it out from there, which I don't like that approach at all.
Yeah, that worries me, because usually that's a recipe for disaster by itself. Sparky says top 4 only. And I don't know, I feel like maybe we didn't have confidence of how we got there last year. Yeah. Like we felt like we just got to like, oh, wow, what the hell? We ended up over here kind of thing. But whereas actually it was a foundation, it just felt more like we backed into it suddenly for a title run. And maybe we consider it like we got lucky and we don't expect to get that lucky again.
Maybe.
But I can't necessarily say we got lucky, because look at all the points that we got screwed out of with VAR and stuff as well. Yeah. That would make, actually, you could say you were unlucky when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I can't even explain to myself the reason for the but I have it as well. I feel like, man, I just don't see it. But you look at the past, and maybe there is something to be said about keeping the same squad, keeping the same players. We're not. I mean, you know, August, it's not even August yet. So there's going to be a lot of movement. I mean, Hughes even said August is when the movement is going to happen. Maybe it was all about giving, you know, slot time and be like, hey, August 1st, I want to report on my desk after the Arsenal game to, you know, like what we're going to do kind of a thing. And they're going to start the moves in August based on what they've seen so far. But Ryan says, I assume Gordo was incredible as usual. Depends on what you mean by incredible, your concept. Incredible.
Dancing around answers.
Sidestepping questions. No, that's usually the Polish Prince on Mondays. I have to corner Matusz. But speaking of the Polish Prince, he says Slot has on-level love for Nunez. I think he's banging in 50 this year. I mean, that's what I mean. Here's the thing, you know, like Nunez, we feel like he had a poor season. We feel like, you know, Diaz had a poor season. What if these guys suddenly one of them turns around, similar to what Mo did that year, right? I mean, everything he touched turned into gold. So you could almost pencil him in for a goal that game. And that goes a lot. I mean, that goes a long way. Football Flashback is in the house. Plays and bets. Put a bet last month, Gordon will become a Liverpool player. It might still pay off. I think we should go in for Michael Oliver. I don't think we could afford the wages that City is when it comes to that.
What did Forrest call? Didn't they had somebody on the books? They called him
Clattenburg.
Yeah, and it was a consultant or whatever. Just do that.
I mean, that by itself was a shady move, and I think they abandoned it because that was a horrible look because it made no sense at all.
Yeah.
Like, what did that do apart from? I want to see actually, like, it's gonna be interesting, like, like Forest and that, like Wolves, for example, their games, VAR calls, they're like, we're not even looking at the freaking monitor. Kind of.
They show the VAR and they're all just like having coffees with each other, like not even watching the screens.
Oh, they're looking at the camera, like flipping it out. Stays as a penalty against Wolves, bitches. Yeah.
That Nottingham move is like, it reminds me of the really crappy, like whenever there's a World Cup or even the Euros, they did it when like, let's bring in Dr. Whatever to describe the rules. And he goes, yes, believe it or not, punching someone in the face is a foul and he should get a yellow for that. I hate, that's the worst. It's like, let's talk to a ref. It's like, there's refs on the field and they're going to make the call. Like, I don't want to hear about Dr. Joe, whatever,
I think, yeah, because you brought in an expert to talk about the obvious. It feels like they're like, oh man, there's nothing shady in this game for me to even comment on, kind of thing. That's why it's, I don't know. We did not get a break, and that's my biggest thing. Victor was calling me grumpy, and that's like warning signs if you ever seen one, because we did not get a break from like commentary. And punditry and stuff like that during summer, so my fuse is going to be very, very short going into the season over here. But we have one pundit we can all get behind, Jamie. So don't forget, August 10th through 11th, we are doing this 24-hour podathon. We are still looking for several sponsors. We do have several hours still available. Only a few have been spoken for, some in the works, but still a lot available. We might actually have a couple of supporter clubs chipping in together to sponsor an hour, which starts at 100 to 250, and then we allot you like a slot accordingly. You can come on air, talk a little bit about your group and stuff like that as well, chat about Liverpool, wake us up, whatever it takes at that point during the 24-hour podathon. But yes, we are still definitely looking for sponsors. The silent auction will start tomorrow, so we'll be able to start shooting links and stuff like that. You see some of the items on there that was from the Jamie Carragher Foundation for this silent auction, but we do also have some other items being donated, some items from American Scouser and stuff like that as well. So reach out to your supporter club and see if they would hop on as a sponsor. Reach out to businesses, see if they would have a sponsor. Let's try to do our best. It's a really, really great cause. I mean, you see what happens. I mean, this is the kind of stuff they do too, like, provide like psychological help and stuff like that. I mean, you see this thing that happened in Southport. You were actually like talking about, you should talk about that a little bit, because you were mentioning your dad's connection to the whole ordeal.
Yeah. So my dad grew up in Liverpool, and then at the age of 9, they moved to Southport, which is only like 35-40 minutes north of Liverpool, and it's basically like a sleepy little seaside resort town. It's like old people go there vacation on the weekends. It's like really quiet. So
I was about to be like, that sounds good, and then you were like, old people go there. Like, yeah.
And like, it's really it's shocking, because it is kind of like a really tiny little town, and it's kind of a nowhere on the map, if you will, and kind of devastating situation that happened. But the club that my dad used to play for, Southport, they opened the Sandgrounders. They opened their stadium and their lounge to like the community and the first responders and everything like that. So a little bit of a connection. So my dad was obviously upset about the whole situation, but pretty proud of his club.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the more I heard about it, I think through like somebody posting it on Discord, or I think you mentioned it on Discord first. That's when I got first alerted to it, but then I didn't look into it until much later in the evening or something like that. I'm not showing like Angie. It's just horrifying, and it brings me to that because like it's kids. I mean, that's kind of like something that can. Yeah. I mean, obviously there's loss of life, and then it's really devastating for those behind as well. I mean, for those of us who have kids, we know how easily they can be impacted for the slightest things. I can imagine something like this. So, but the Jamie Carragher Foundation does a lot of stuff for kids. So various, like hospitals and stuff like that reach out to them asking for donations. There's a lot of like different groups and stuff like that who need funds, and that's basically what they provide. So we want to be able to provide some funds to them to be able to allocate to several like different like children projects and stuff like that. So Southport is League 4.
No, they're League 6 now. Well, League 5.
That left, or they're going down, or what? What's wrong?
Yeah, it's one of these things where they always go in the run. My dad, like, it's the one team that he like, obviously, because he's got some serious connections to it, but it's the one team that he always supports and follows really closely. And they always go like on a 13-14 win tear, and then their seasons always collapse at the end. And so, like, perpetual sadness for my dad. So they've been like stuck just outside of the like in non-league for, man, as long as I can remember, 10 years. So yeah, it's not great out there, but
I'll be honest though, like those were, I went to a couple of games. Like we went actually as like the soccer team to one of them and stuff like that. I remember, and those games, the environment is like very, very different, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just such an odd environment because it's like a weird cross between a full-blown regular Premier League game you're used to with like a heavy dose of Sunday league. Like you were going to sprinkle it, but the cap was open. You're like, just like so much Sunday league in this. Yeah, it's just kind of like a weird mix where it feels like almost like a fancy Sunday league in some ways, but you still see. I was always amazed, especially, growing up as like a Fenerbahce fan back home. I was like, how do these guys get so hardcore over a small team? Because to me, it felt like being so hardcore over like a Sunday team. They're like, I'll die for him, man. Like, it's just like, like, dude, you guys are in like Division 85. Like, calm down. It's just fun kind of a thing. But you saw like the passion and how much people really got into it. And I was like, oh, wow. And that's what I think makes like England like a really like a soccer country or football country, whatever you want to call it, because throughout the levels there's so much passion and love for the sport.
And like those leagues too are very much like community, because most of the guys are from that community. And so like you'll get guys on the sideline, because every time we used to go every 2 years, because when my dad's dad was alive, we used to go every 2 years to see him, and then we'd always go to a Southport game, and there'd be people that would yell stuff like, you shoot balls like you paint houses, like these guys are like part of the community, like just like you screwed up my mom's garden, that guy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I would like hear things and I'd be like, this is so weird because it's like a game, but it's not a game, but it is a game kind of a thing. But yeah, 1978 Sparta says they got relegated to non-league. Yeah, once your dad left, the club went out. Like, so there's a game tonight.
He was still there at that point, so.
So there's a game tonight. I literally forgot about it. Hence the post in the middle of the night saying like, hey, pre-match, post-match, don't forget, kind of a thing. It's Angie's birthday, so we'll be in the festivities. I don't know how much of it. And honestly, it's preseason, so I didn't want to even like revolve any day plans around the freaking game or anything like that. But are you looking for anything different after the first game, or same as second verse, same as the first?
I think the big one, because it caused the most stir, is Endo, right? Like, was it just a fluke game, or like, does he just not fit in this system? Is he going to be somebody that, is either on the move or won't be utilized as much as Klopp utilized them? It's obviously definitely a way different system. As like you guys pointed out earlier this week, he needs players that kind of can play on the ball in a 6 role, and Endo's not that kind of guy. But again, we don't really have legitimate cover for him, so we can't move him. And it's almost as if like I liked Endo a lot, like in terms of, I think we bought him pretty cheap. He did his job. It didn't set the world alight. Wasn't expecting him to, though. But I almost want him to fail. So it's like, this is this position we need. Because I think for like 3 years, we've been looking for somebody to, when Fabinho had his bad season,
Yeah.
There really wasn't another option for us. And I think we've been crying out for a 6. So you almost like want it to be glaringly obvious that he doesn't fit in that position, and to continue to utilize like a McAllister in an actual McAllister role instead of at 6. So I kind of almost want to see, is it a fluke or is he not going to fit? And is it going to be glaringly obvious that we need a 6? And then we go and get somebody really good there.
So I think the game is going to be different because I think Real Betis was like a different ordeal. I was mainly shocked with, I guess, knowing what Slot wants mostly based on past games. Like, we don't know if that's going to change at all at Liverpool. But having seen that, I didn't think he was going to fit when we were in possession. But I think he just had a very poor game on top of that defensively. That is uncharacteristic of him.
Mm-hmm.
To do that. So he's not going to be, I think, as bad defensively. And because we're going to play against a team that likes to have the ball as well in Arsenal, I feel like he will play better defensively, win some balls, block some, put in some tackles and stuff like that. So we're going to, I think we're going to get a little bit off. See, he's not as bad as people make it sound. But I think when we're building play, I feel like I'm going to see the same things because we've seen it before. And honestly, like I keep saying this, I don't even know if Slot would be big on Fabinho, even though he was a lot better with the ball, had the Brazilian thing going at least, and he had also played right back for Brazil and stuff like that. So he was better with the ball, more comfortable. I just feel like Endo, even though he can kind of like cut off a pass and put a one-time pass into it and start a counter, he's not as good when we're building play, passing in between lanes and stuff like that. We've seen him do some good passing, but it's never, I don't remember any of them being in like a tight space, a quick pass and stuff like that. It's always been, he cuts off a pass, he looks up and he can find that pass, but not when we're like have 3-4 guys in the same area doing quick passes and then somebody chipping the ball over or something like that. So
yeah, he's a bulldog.
Interesting to see. What else? I mean, I assume the same result. You couldn't care less, or do you care less because it's a Premier League team now?
I care less. I don't want to see any of our players accepting jerseys from this team. That's for sure. I like Adrian, but like, what was that? Really, like giving? You even saw like the one he gave to Solon. So I was like, what?
Looks like he forgot to buy them anything, and then he was like, "Hey, you got a couple of extra shirts so you guys can put the numbers on the back."
You were here 3 days ago, okay? Like this is, this isn't like we haven't seen you in a year. Like you were literally at the training ground earlier this week. So that was weird. I hope I don't see to that. That's what I really don't want to see. But yeah, I guess I care less. I know it's going to be made out to be bigger. It always is. It will be kind of, and I know like the full Arsenal team isn't back either because a lot of them were on international duties this summer as well. But it will be interesting to see, kind of the two cores, because I think a lot of people think that Arsenal has only gotten stronger this summer and they were already a strong team, almost won the Premier League. They've been battling for 2 years. Obviously a good team when you have to go up against Man City to do that. It'll be interesting to see like the cores without the big players. Like is it more promising on our side, or do we have a little bit of catching up to do?
Yeah, and I think maybe, going back to our conversation earlier, part of the pessimism, I think, is we're kind of like looking around and we, at least on paper, see other teams improving or at least adding. Adding doesn't equal improving, but we see them adding, anticipating that it might improve them, which brings more pessimism because obviously you're staying still. Everybody's improving. I think, that's just the optics of it. Whereas we're improving on the practice pitch, Gordo. Don't you worry about it. And we got a bunch of kids coming right up. I still think there'll be some action. Like I say, I'm not freaking out like a lot of people. Saido is not here this morning to freak out, the voice to freak outs. But getting irked that, I definitely do not feel comfortable going into the season as is.
Yeah. I mean, if nothing else, I've seen 3 different practice sessions where they've kind of been punching something. So we'll be definitely.
Oh yeah, actually, hold on. We should share that because this team is gonna go fight for everything.
One of the first training sessions was like a fighting thing, and then I saw them in the gym in Liverpool, and now I've seen this where they go to Philly and do some fighting. So if nothing else, we're gonna punch the shit out of other teams.
Yeah, hold on. I gotta share that because you did like said it earlier, and I actually had it pulled up, but I did forget to share because some of the photos were like maybe we signed the wrong guy. Hold on. Um, First off, we could barely fill the ring with the people we have in the U.S. And I like how Slot is watching this. Like it's really like look at the footwork.
Beat his ass.
Maybe we can. Mo, I can see actually at his weight class being really good. By the way,
yeah, and his endurance and everything, he would be a decent boxer.
He'd be going. I'm not a boxing guy by any means, so I'm sure there's a terminology for it. But he'll be the guy that's gonna try to take it to the 15th round or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Mosai looks pretty serious, whereas Gordon looks like he's just laughing it off. He's like, "This is obnoxious."
I mean, Soboslai is also not like he would get punched in the face for doing that. Like, look how low his. You don't even have to be into boxing to know that you're gonna get hit in the side of the face.
And then yes, Harvey, after somebody got punched, I'm assuming, or he's laughing at somebody punching
with the pink gloves too, which is like I want to.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I want him to have chosen those, or like they gotta like who's gonna. We only have this many gloves, and one of them's pink. Who's gonna take it? And Harvey's like, I don't care. This is fine with me.
Or I think they're like everybody grabs it. He's just waiting there, and then everybody leaves. There's only one pair of gloves left on the wall. There's like, I guess I'm taking this. So this says maybe Slot thought he was citing for UFC, not LFC. Has this replaced our bike riding? Because that's all we saw is guys riding bikes.
Yeah,
in summer.
That was always my favorite in the club too. And like I know that they have to, you know, it's part of the image and everything, but like them like wearing the helmets.
You guys want to go for a bike ride, get some ice cream?
Yeah. It was always the best. You could tell like none of them wear the helmets in their normal lives. They just don't fit on a bike really. Yeah. But like obviously that's like the Front Street gym, so that has a lot of history in Philadelphia. Yeah. I'm surprised that we haven't seen anything of them like running the stairs, which is so cliche. I'm kind of glad we haven't.
Oh yes, maybe that's why they're like it's just too dirty to just do that. Or there's no room from all the other tourists doing it.
I was gonna say yes. That's the thing is like you'd take the photo and there'd be like some fat guy next to him like running on like who's that? Yeah, exactly. In sweats and gray sweats.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, yeah. Let's get this comedy over with. I mean, I know we have to do preseason, but God, it's almost worse than worse than the other one. But I think these games more than like sometimes players. I kind of like watching what we're trying to do. I mean, I kind of really enjoyed seeing or reconfirmation of what was being done. When I watched the first game, like you see kind of like the direction. I think we had that a little bit of Klopp, but because Klopp came in mid-season, you kind of got it as you went and you kind of could see the changes. He didn't have the first proper off season. So this is kind of different where there is an off season, even though it's kind of screwed up. Like you said, it probably was the worst time to change management is when you have like a summer tournament and stuff like that. But maybe we're offsetting this by keeping the squad the same and not changing a lot of things. Let's hope for the best, people. Let's keep the optimism. And let's keep those sponsorships and the donors coming in. Just please pass the word. If you know a business owner, have him hop on a very small deal probably for them, but it can add up to be a huge contribution for the Jamie Carragher Foundation. So definitely looking forward to getting more of that going. We have 10 days left, people. So I know that's why Gally's up early in the morning. He's doing like through a camp. He's sleeping 8 hours, up 1 hour, sleeping 10 hours, just getting ready for the overnight. Getting ready for the overnight. But we'll see you guys tonight. Speaking of Gally, he'll be hosting the pre-match. Do join the gang for that. Once the lineup comes out, those guys will go on air. I think it's already set up on YouTube as well. So just turn the notification on. If you're not following us, what the hell are you doing? Go ahead and subscribe, like, and all that kind of good stuff on YouTube. And then we'll see you guys tonight. Take care.